their opinions peacefully. I was also encouraged to see acts of gratitude and acts of positive personal interaction between demonstrators and our men and women in uniform. However, we continue to maintain our level of resources, and we are in preparations for the weekend ahead. We're thankful for the support of our business community as we work to return to a normal business schedule. Our uptown area is largely open for business, and we are working to return to normalcy. Last night, I signed a citywide curfew that is in effect between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. This curfew is a tool that allows us to adjust enforcement at the direction of our law enforcement officials. Our Corporate Communications Division has compiled a list of frequently asked questions, and I would direct people to the City of Charlotte website, charlottenc.gov, as well as to watch our Twitter feed at CLTGov to continue to see more information on the frequently asked questions about the curfew. I'll go over just a few of those. We have gotten several questions about what does it actually mean to have the curfew in place. One of the questions, are schools, daycares, etc., exempt from this curfew? Travel for services necessary to sustain the well-being of citizens or their families are exempt from the curfew. That would be daycares and schools. Some of those do open before 6 a.m. Another frequently asked question, how will the curfew impact businesses such as restaurants and bars that are open after midnight? The curfew restricts travel for non-exempt purposes within the City of Charlotte from midnight to 6 a.m. Patrons who leave establishments such as bars and restaurants will be impacted if they need to travel on the roadways during those curfew hours. Bars and restaurants will be closing at midnight. There are other frequently asked questions. Again, I would direct people to the website and to our Twitter feed. We'll continue to get those questions answered as people adjust to what a curfew means. With that, I'd like to turn it over to our Chief of Police, Chief Kerr Putney.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. I'd like to go over some of the details concerning last night's demonstrations that were, for the most part, peaceful, very much so. There were a couple of issues that we need to address, and I'm going to give you kind of a timeline, a sequence of events. At approximately 8:30, a group of protesters started to block the streets at the square, Trade and Tryon. At approximately 8:45, we saw some protesters within the group, one of the groups there at Ramir Bearden Park, who were beginning to put on gas masks. At 8:52, we got intelligence through our intel unit that there was a violent group coming out of South Carolina, coming up here to join in the protest. These factors and a few others influenced my decision to seek approval for the curfew, and that was at 9 o'clock p.m. to be in effect starting at midnight and going, as the mayor said, to 6 in the morning. At 10:15, our civil emergency unit had to be deployed to maintain order as protesters continued to block streets. At 10:40, Interstate 277 was shut down, and we deployed CEU, Civil Emergency Unit, to move the crowd out of the street and regain order. That process took about 15 minutes, which is a lot more timely than we've had in the past. At 10:46, a city building on Church Street at Moorhead was reported to be vandalized in the process of being so. So we responded to that location. At midnight, the curfew went into effect. A couple things about the curfew, one of which is it is a tool. It is a tool in the tool belt to help us maintain order. It gives us discretion. So employing that curfew, I do have the discretion to use some discernment and judgment in how we implement or enforce that. Meaning, as long as people are being peaceful, and for the most part they were, I don't have to be the aggressive party, creating a sense of disorder from our part, creating some tension that I wanted to, and our officers wanted to de-escalate. So that was our approach. We continued to facilitate the protesting throughout the night, and by 1:45 this morning, the protesting had subsided, and the groups had begun to dissipate significantly. Overall, we had one officer who was treated for a minor hand injury, 2 who were treated after being sprayed with some chemical agent by some protesters. 1 National Guard member was treated by medic for a minor injury. We had 1 civilian that was transported by medic, but was not related to the protest itself. We had a total of 3 arrests: restrict, obstruct, delay, failure to disperse, 1 for carrying a concealed weapon, and a curfew violation. I have to highlight a little bit of the work, though. Our investigations were being conducted from the previous night, where we had quite a bit of damage. What I saw was humbling, impressive work. Our officers were sacrificing their own safety to protect our city. And I can't say how humbled I am by that. Just great work. At 7 a.m., just today, another example of the follow-up work and the good investigative work. Our Violent Criminal Apprehension Team, VCAT, just apprehended Raekwon Borum, and we'll give you more information on that, who is the suspect in the murder of Mr. Justin Carr, which happened on Trade Street, there near the Omni. He was shot and killed, as you know, during the demonstration Wednesday night. And our crime scene investigators and our homicide detectives were able to use a lot of footage. Our real-time crime center was able to supply footage from cameras that helped us solve that case. Just a tremendous amount of good detective work there. Currently, we're still conducting the interview as the investigation continues, but we already have established probable cause and made that arrest. We've also identified several other suspects involved in property-related crimes the night before. And again, I can't say enough the impact that we've had with the camera footage that covers the city that allows us to piece together some of these cases. We have also posted a number of photos of additional suspects, and we ask the public to do likewise. If you have any evidence that can help us resolve and solve some of the outstanding cases that we're looking to resolve, we ask you to do so. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our partners. As always, the Charlotte Fire Department. We also have Medic, who's always a good partner. We have the National Guard, the State Highway Patrol, as well as our local Mecklenburg Sheriff's Office. We could not ensure the safety of our jurisdiction without their support. And again, I just want to underscore the hard work of our men and women, of our partner agencies, and our police department. They continue to do good work. I am also very encouraged by the manner in which the First Amendment was exercised last night. We're most appreciative to that. And I can tell you personally, I have a great deal of empathy for, or appreciation for the empathy and professionalism displayed by our heroes. I continue to be marveled by their efforts and their work. Lastly, and unfortunately, maybe for you, but not so much for me, this will be the final case update that I can give you regarding the officer-involved shooting of Mr. Scott. Currently, it has officially been turned over, as you all are aware, to the State Bureau of Investigations for an independent investigative process. They will be the entity that's responsible for updating any cases and disseminating information and releasing any information. A thorough investigation relies on multiple factors, and I can tell you one piece of evidence will never, ever make a good case. I know the expectation that video footage can be the panacea, and I can tell you that is not quite the case. There are a lot of other factors that have to support and corroborate even what you might visually see. But the process is painstakingly slow sometimes, so I ask for your continued patience as the State Bureau of Investigations conducts their thorough investigation, because it's going to take them some time to piece together everything that has happened. And what I can tell you is I have confidence in that process, and I hope our fellow community members will allow for that thorough investigation. Again, last thing I want to say is I'm still optimistic. I'm still proud of our city. I'm still proud of our community, and I'm humbled and very proud of the work that our CMPD officers and our law enforcement partners continue to work to make us a safe city that our community deserves. Thank you.
Good morning again. I'm Willie Ratchford with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Community Relations Committee, and I want to acknowledge up front that these are and continue to be difficult times for all of us. Together, our community has always worked tirelessly to address concerns surrounding police and police-community relations. It is critical that we remain diligent and continue to engage in productive dialogue, sharing and respecting diverse perspectives. We must continue to do what is right based on factual information, not speculation, not innuendo, or rumor. Let's continue to work together to seek the truth and find the mutual solutions that will foster trust and strengthen us as a community. We as a community need to navigate through this together, and I believe that we will. We must remember that we cannot control what others might think, say, or do. However, we do control how we might react to them. The Community Relations Committee is currently working with the Community Building Initiative and faith-based organizations to create opportunities and safe spaces for dialogue for convened and intact groups. We are here as a resource to our community. Anyone interested in participating in a facilitated dialogue can do so by contacting Diane English at the Community Building Initiative at 704-333-2595, or they might contact me at 704-336-2195. Thank you.
Before we open up to questions, I just have a few words to say about our community. And I have a great deal of gratitude for the incredible collaboration and partnership that we have seen over the last several days. I want to thank our federal partners for the resources they have, for the support that they provided, and for their continued reaching out during this situation. I want to thank our state partners. I want to particularly thank our governor for working with us on a declaration of emergency, and the State Highway Patrol and the National Guard who are here. Had a chance to talk to several of them yesterday, and they're from all over the state, wanting to be here to help restore peace and order, and to be partners with the city of Charlotte, and we're very grateful for them. I want to thank our federal and state officials as well for their support. And at the local level, I want to thank the members of the County Commission, the school board, the staff, the county staff, the staff of our schools, as well as all our city council members and our city staff. I had the opportunity, we have around the clock work on collaboration and coordination of information sharing and gathering as we continue to work to restore our city. And we just have incredibly dedicated folks. We have people who have a common vision that this community works together, that we are willing to face some issues we know that we still have. We know there are disparities in our community. We know that there are people who believe they are not being treated equally. We want to face that. We want to work together in the best interest of all of us to move forward to address those disparities. And I'm saying now that we are going to have continuing, ongoing work in our community to do that. I am grateful that we have a team of professionals, a team of compassionate individuals who are dedicated to doing that. I also want to just one final thanks, and I'm sure that I've left somebody out in thinking about all our first responders, police, fire, medic, sheriff's office, state highway patrol, National Guard, all the folks, our religious leaders, our community leaders that have shown up, that have put forward their best efforts and their hearts and souls to work together to move us forward. And so as mayor of this great city, I am just grateful. I am grateful. And we still have work to do. And we're going to roll up our sleeves, and we're going to do it together. And with that, we're ready to answer some questions.
I know the State Bureau of Investigation taking
Want to come up,
changes,
Chief?
but at this point, do you favor releasing those videos?
I lean toward transparency in everything that our city does. However, I know there's a delicate balance when you have an ongoing investigation. And I have heard from all sides of this, and I absolutely want to move. I want to be transparent. I know that when you have an ongoing investigation, when there are key pieces of evidence still to be collected, when there are key pieces of evidence still being gathered, if one piece is released early, it can jeopardize the integrity of that investigation. We want everyone to have full faith in what this investigation will produce. And in that, I am relying on our experts to say we want all those pieces together to present a full picture. I do believe the video should be released. The question is on the timing. And I am willing to work with our law enforcement officials to discuss when that will occur.
Hang on, we're circling back. Next. Okay.
Chief, I want to just follow up on what the mayor just said. If you favor this, the question of timing, yesterday you were adamant that it shouldn't be released yet. At this point, even though the FBI...
Let me make sure I'm understanding your question. I was adamant it shouldn't be released yet. Is that what you said? Yeah, okay.
At this point, in your conversations with the mayor, at this point today, do you favor releasing it anyway?
What I can tell you is it's a matter of when, and it's a matter of sequence. And as I said before, I wish the video, any video, even the cases we made from 2 days ago, I wish just based on video evidence, it could give us probable cause, but it doesn't work that way. And the reason I want to release it when I can give more supportive information is because if it's proving our case or proving our case should go in a different direction, the only way to do that is to be able to establish probable cause. And what I can tell you is the video evidence in that case didn't get us to that standard solely. So now that more evidence has come in, it would be a proper time. But right now, what I can tell you is the State Bureau of Investigations has the lead, and they have to play catch up to get to the point where they have all the pieces of the puzzle so that they can then give the fuller picture of exactly what happened.
Hang on, one question at a time. One question at a time, please, one question at a time.
My question is about the thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
My question is about the demonstrators and those who were arrested. We had heard from the Fraternal Order of Police that as many as 70% of demonstrators that were arrested came from outside of Charlotte. I'd like to get accurate numbers, and you mentioned this group in South Carolina.
Yes.
Coming from outside. What do you know?
What I can tell you is we haven't vetted it since yesterday, but the initial, we had, it was a mix, but the majority And this is before we started really making a great number of arrests were local, and that is, though, when we only reached about 10. So there's an additional 34 or so that we have yet to go through, but I will follow up and get that. Absolutely, yes, sir. Absolutely. You will get that information today.
Next question is here.
Chief, a comment and a question. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir.
First of all, you've been very open in answering questions in great.
I've been transparent. Thank you.
However, over the last 24 hours, your office has failed to respond to all calls and emails, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention going forward.
Okay, sir.
The question being this, looking forward down the road, aside from Mr. Scott's case,
Yes, sir.
do you believe that it is worth reconsidering how and when videos are released? Now that we live in this world
I'm with you.
where social media has the ability.
Let me jump in because you're going to create another question, I think. Let me just respond there and then let you finish. Is that okay? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not. But what I can tell you is we're always assessing our process and procedures. We have internal people. We have external people who weigh in on that. So absolutely. But what I can tell you is the time has to be right to give supportive information because we have yet to make a case solely on video. Solely on, however, it can be compelling. Therefore, what we try to do is get the information as soon as we can. And what I'd like for you to do is talk to some of our homicide detectives and sergeants to see how nuanced that is, because I'm pushing hard to get information out, but they also have to push back to say, let's make sure we vetted this information. So the intent is to get it out and release it in a package so that it can be consumed and fully understood. Yes, sir.
The head of the department.
Yes.
When you have social media as it has for the last 72 hours, driving a narrative that may not be consistent
Sure.
with what you know.
Yes.
Is it worth saying going forward down the road, maybe we need to reevaluate when we put that out because of
I'm with you.
maybe inflated protests?
What I can tell you is this. If I were to put it out indiscriminately and it doesn't give you good context, it can inflame the situation and make it even worse. It will exacerbate the backlash. It will increase the distrust. So that is where discernment, judgment, and reasonableness have to come in. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm not a very patient person. So if I were putting it out on my time frame, you would not have a whole case, though, and we would damage the very trust we're trying to build. So it's not that I want to hide anything. It's I want to be more thoughtful and deliberate in delivering the whole story. Because I can tell you, I'm a skeptical person. I have my own trust issues, and I want to make sure when I do say something and deliver something, it is complete as I can make it. So I just it's an internal struggle. It's a professional struggle. It's a personal struggle. But I have to do what I think is absolute best for all of my community.
Hang on. We'll get to you, ma'am.
We'll get to you, ma'am.
This question's for the mayor. Mayor, we understand that Attorney General Roy Cooper was here with members from his campaign staff yesterday here at the Government Center. I'm wondering in your meetings with him what you and the Attorney General talked about.
Sure, and I didn't know who his staff, who they were, whether they were with the campaign or I thought they were official staff. But we talked on an official basis, and I had some questions about how the local government can interact with the state government, and because the State Bureau of Investigation has now is conducting an independent investigation, I had some questions about how does that relate and what is our role and what is their role.
This for the chief. This weekend, obviously, moving forward.
Yes, sir.
You're going to keep the outside resources here, but at this point, the NFL is going to keep the game here, so you have the potential of tens of thousands of more people coming to the city. Any change, how are you going to moving forward?
We have adequate resources to ensure the safety of the city. We're in good shape. We're not going to change the staffing model. We're going to make sure we're ready, and we strongly encourage the NFL to allow our Panthers to be victorious on Sunday. And listen, if you feel we haven't been receptive in the last 24 hours, we'll fix that. Thank you.
Question.
Sir, excuse me. Back to the video. If you're admitting that it doesn't show your case to probable cause, and you're going to have to make the rest of your case with other evidence, what's the actual downside to releasing it now? That's all you have.
Very, very good question.
Chief, can you repeat
He's asking why not release it because it takes a while to get the rest of the pieces together. So why not just release what we have, which is the video? As I said before, my job is to make sure I don't do more damage, more harm, and to be quite frank, fracture the trust that we've been trying to build here. And to do that just because of what's going on in social media is counterproductive.
I just want to add the question about the video, because, as I said, I tend toward transparency and toward release, and I had to be convinced. And someone made a very good point to me that when you are still gathering eyewitness accounts, because the state is now doing its own independent, they're still talking to folks who are neighbors and were there, et cetera. And if you have already seen something on the internet or wherever, it can cloud your memory. It can alter what you think you saw. We want to have integrity in this investigation. We want those eyewitnesses to tell us without being led or have their memories changed by something else they heard or saw. We want the most accurate accounting. And so, again, I had to get to this point as well. It was not easy, wanting that transparency, but also wanting the integrity of the information as it continues to be gathered.
This gentleman right here. Hang on 1 second. This gentleman.
For the mayor and the police chief, the two of you seem to be somewhat at odds over whether to release the tape or not. And this morning, the mayor came out and said just now that maybe it shouldn't be released until the investigation proceeds, or at least not until later. Were you convinced by the chief to change your position on this morning or overnight? And what about the idea that you put forward of letting community leaders view the tape and disseminate it for the rest of us? You haven't talked about that. Is that going to happen?
Yeah, the question is another question about the video and has my mind been changed. I think that I actually just said that I tend toward transparency initially, listening to the community, understanding the frustration. I have been convinced in hearing from all sides that there is value in the timing and waiting for that investigation to be more complete, to have all the pieces of the puzzle, but also to respect the integrity of getting those eyewitness accounts that we want to be accurate and true to what happened. And so we're going to continue to assess with our law enforcement partners the timing on that, how that works in the community. I understand the frustration. We'll continue to have those conversations.
Question right here.
This question is for the chief. Chief, we know that Officer Benson was not wearing a body camera at the time. Were any of the other body cameras the other officers were wearing not working?
The ones that we have were working.
How many do you have?
We have, I don't know the complete total yet. That was part of what we're going through. I know there's at least one body cam and one dash cam that I've reviewed, and we're still working through all of the other people who are involved. But what you will see, based on my experiences, body cam and dash cam of people responding to the scene, body cam of people who are out on the outside of the scene. So a lot of it is not specifically relevant to what we're trying to capture. But
You can't say definitively at this point if any of the body cameras on scene were or were not working.
as I said, I know at least one was because I've seen it. I haven't seen all of them that would be relevant.
Question over here.
With the family now seeing the video and talking about the video, describing it to members of the media, to members of the community, has that made you guys reconsider trying to push for that video being released sooner? Especially because they're describing the video as him not being aggressive at all.
Sure. The question, good Lord, are you kidding me? The question was, are we reconsidering putting out that information since the family has made a statement about what they saw and they don't, sure, and requesting that we do so. Ultimately, timing has never been in my favor. I don't know why, but just as we're getting ready to do a case update is when the decisions was made and everything else. So I can't put out more information because I'm not the lead investigative body now. But, and I can talk about intent all day long, but I was adamant I'm not going to put out one piece of evidence that could further inflame and not tell the full story. But times have changed, there's more evidence, and now it's kind of out of my hands.
Question right here.
Yes. How I responded is, again, I wish it was just a random way of coming to decisions. It's not. It's a lot more thoughtful. And if you recall, Tuesday, the protests didn't happen in Uptown. They were there. They were spontaneous, and there are businesses all over that we have to protect. So the curfew has to affect all businesses that could be vulnerable.
How long do you anticipate?
No, I'm sorry, question on the end, question on the end.
For Chief Whiting?
Yes, sir.
For better or worse, state lawmakers voted to make North Carolina an open carry state. What can you tell us about the officer's decision to approach Mr. Scott? What can you tell us about what the department tells its officers in general about approaching people who are openly displaying guns? And what do we expect as citizens in that regard?
Okay. About just the fact that people have a weapon on them. Is that your question? How do we?
Yes, given that this is an open carry state.
Open carry state. Yes, sir.
What do you tell your officers about
How to approach?
right
Sure.
to carry a firearm openly? And
Sure.
can you tell us anything about this officer's decision to approach Mr. Scott?
No, sir. As I said, I'm not in that position to release information specific to that case anymore. But what we generally tell our people is to follow the law, which means if it's carried visibly, it's lawful as long as they're out in the public. And if we're approaching them, we're engaging them with that mindset, and we're asking questions about, we're making sure that it is a weapon that was obtained legally. If we're having a conversation, a legitimate, like call for service that puts us in that encounter, and then we're making sure we try to do that as safely as possible. Your question isn't specific enough for me to directly address that question beyond that. So if you want to follow up, okay, to add more context, I'd be more than willing.
Mayor Roberts, for you, can you say how many videos you viewed and did you see a gun?
The question was about how many videos I saw and whether I saw a gun. There were 2 videos I was able to see. As I said before, the visual clarity made those videos inconclusive. And I think in terms of what was in the gentleman's hand, it's inconclusive. There was something.
Jim?
Mayor, you suggested that the city's open for business, and yet curfew and protests after dark would certainly suggest the contrary. Can you talk about what people in Charlotte should expect this weekend, tonight, and moving through the weekend, because there's a lot of things going on, and it's not business as usual.
Okay, the question was saying that, asking whether the city is open for business as usual, and maybe it's not as usual. And I want to be clear that what we said is that there will be a curfew in effect, and there are some businesses that have made decisions not to operate on their normal hours. If folks are attending an event or going to a business, they should check beforehand. The city services are operating as normal. County services, as far as I understand, are operating as normal. Many of those things are back to normal, not everything. And we are working together to try to get to a point where everything is open and operating as normal. There are things that will be different this weekend.
We're only able to take 3 more. Question right here in the front. Jim, I'm sorry. We're only able to take 3 more, right here in the front.
Chief and the Mayor, and you talk about the timing of the release of this video, but let's look at some other cases. You know, the Black Lives Matter in Chicago, it took 13 months for that video to come out. It became a scandal. It discredited officials, the Suffolk County prosecutor. You know, you look at Tulsa, Oklahoma, they got it out straight away. It's not an issue anymore. You know, it seems you have 2 parts here. Do you want another Black Lives Matter?
What I can tell you is I don't try to address what happens in other major cities, but what I can tell you is look at our practice. We may not do it immediately, but as soon as we get enough to really tell you the complete picture as best we can, that's kind of the threshold. And it is not 13 months for us. That has been our practice.
Right here, question right here.
It said that there was a violent group in South Carolina that were here yesterday. Can you tell us what city they were from, who they were?
No, ma'am. I really didn't want to specify the state but I will give you that level of specificity. But I don't want to, listen, they could be coming back, and we can't just absolutely identify everybody we need to. So there's a lot more going on that we're trying to vet and verify, because we haven't been able to apprehend anyone that was associated with it. So I don't want to get too deep into intelligence when a criminal investigation could be ongoing.
Last question right here.
Chief, two questions. One about your homicide arrest this morning. On
Yes, sir.
the Scott case. Your arrest this morning, were you able to establish motive or relationship between the suspect and victim?
We will be updating that in greater detail. Right now, we can't discern the relationship.
And regarding the Scott case, the firearm, has the firearm that you recovered from the scene, do you proceed to trace back on that? And was it lawful for Mr. Scott to be in possession of the weapon?
Was it lawful for Mr. Scott to be in possession of the firearm? And have we gotten the trace back yet? Again, that's evidence I would really, really like to talk about, but I can't. There are other circumstances that would make possession of firearm illegal, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much for coming.